Hi guys, so today I'm going to show you how to make this little cat ear to attach to headbands, or because it's attached with bobby pins, you could literally just pin it into your hair. Because this is part of my interchangeable headband set, so even the headbands are interchangeable. And if you can see there, the little flaps, so this can come off and you can take the colour off, take the cover off and put a different cover on to have a different colour headband. So you only need one base headband and you can do lots of different colours with it. So do check out that video, which will be linked at the end of this. But yeah, we're going to do the cat ear today. We've already got pumpkins done, and there will be top hats and Santa hats and elf hats and all sorts of things coming. So do keep checking back for them all as I release them slowly but surely. But yeah, let's get on with how we do that, shall we? So obviously you're going to need some pink yarn and some black yarn. I'm using DK weight cotton. You can use whatever yarn you like, but I tend to use cotton. And I'm using a 3mm hook. I use a 3mm rather than a 4mm because I like to have tighter stitches, because it's something that's going to be pulled about and moved on and off. So handled, you want it to have a little bit of a stiffer fabric so that it stays upright. So just move these out the way a second. I'm going to start with the black yarn. For the first row, we're just doing the black yarn, and then after that, we're actually going to be doing both yarns simultaneously, because we're going to start with a magic ring up here, and then we're going to do our increases, and the pink section here is actually one whole side with the increases, and the other sides are the two bits here and here. So there's an increase down the back seam there, so we've got one side there, and then I'll increase there. So we'll make a triangle as such. So I'm going to start with 6 into a magic ring. If you can't do a magic ring or magic loop, just chain 2 and work into your chain, but I always work into a magic ring. I'll show you how I do it. So I literally just hold the arm across my hand there, wrap it around a few fingers, and then have it cross over so it's crossed on top, and then pop this underneath that one, over the top of that one, pull it through, and then I take my fingers out holding that secure just so I can grab it, and then I do a chain 1, and that just secures your loop so you can pull it closed or open depending on what you want to do. And do 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that's 6 US terms single crochets. That's UK terms, that is 6 double crochets. Terms are on the side. Now we're going to do increases. We're going to work in a spiral. We're not going to finish off a row, so it just gives a nicer edge if we work in a spiral. So we're going to do, into that first stitch, we are going to do 2 single crochets. That's our first increase stitch. That's 1, 2. Now the next stitch is a single crochet, but we're actually going to do it in pink, and I personally like to finish off the previous stitch with the new colour, but for this first stitch we're actually just going to loop it through and pull the black one down tight in, because I think it gives a smoother and more secure join to that pink if we actually lock it in with the black this time round. But from now on we'll just finish off the stitch with it. So we're going to go into that next stitch and we're going to do a single crochet, but we only want 1 pink because that's all we start with, it's just 1 pink. So instead of finishing off that stitch with our pink, which is what you'd normally do for single crochet, we're going to switch to the black and finish the stitch off with the black, and now that pink has led across that one. and that just gives a better finish to it because they're more in line. Hopefully you can see that. And then in the next stitch we're going to do an increase, so 2 single crochets. And what you'll notice there is we did an increase before the pink and we've done an increase after the pink, and we're going to do that every single time. We're always going to have 2 single crochets in the stitch before the pink and 2 single crochets in the stitch after the pink, because that's one section that will get wider. And as we've just done an increase, we're going to do a single crochet in the next stitch, and then we're going to do an increase in the next stitch. So that's 2 single crochets or UK double crochets in to the next stitch. And what we're doing is we're doing this 3 times so that we have 9 stitches total. So as we've just done an increase, we need to do a single crochet because each increase is finished followed by the single crochets. Now we have 9 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. That's the end of the first round. So now we go on to the next round. But again, we're not finishing off. We're just going to carry on going in a spiral. So the next round, we are going up to 12. So we're going to do a single crochet, and then we're going to do an increase in the next one. We always want to keep the increases either side of the pink. So we're always going to do 1 extra single crochet between the end of the row and the beginning of the next row to shift that increase over one. So this one we do an increase, so we do our normal single crochet, but our increase, our second one into it, we only do part of it. That last bit we're actually going to pull in the pink to do it. Make sure you grab the working end and not the tail end. And we're going to finish the stitch off with the pink, so that way the pink will lay across that one. Take the black yarn along with you because we want that black yarn on the other side of that pink. So just kind of hold it in place while we work the stitch. So we're going to go into that pink stitch and we're going to do 1 single crochet, and then we're going to do the next stitch, which is also a single crochet, because at this point we are doing 2 single crochets between every single increase. So and if you notice there, I finished off that stitch. We are switching to the black, so we want to finish the stitch off with the black. So I took the pink back out and finished it with the black, and that will make the black stitch line over. And pull the pink out of the way because we won't want that until we get back to the other end. And so now we're going to go into the next stitch and we're going to do an increase, so 2 single crochets or UK double crochets into that stitch. So what we've done is we've done 1 single crochet to shift ourselves over so that we're 1 stitch before the pink, and we've done our increase, so 2 single crochets or 2 UK double crochets into that black stitch. Then we've done 2 single crochets, 1 in each stitch, and then we've switched back to the black and we've done two single crochets into 1 stitch, so our increase. So now we're going to go for the next 2 stitches. We're just doing 1 single crochet in each, and then the next stitch we're going to do an increase again, so 2 single crochets in the same stitch, and then do single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and that's now taken us to 12 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. That's the end of the round. And again, we're going to increase on the next round. We're going to go up to 15 stitches, and this time round we're going to have 3 stitches in between each increase, but first we want to do 1 single crochet to shift our stitch over so that we can do the increase just before the pink. So we're doing 2 single crochets into that stitch just before the pink one there, the black. But again, don't finish off that last one. We are switching over to the pink yarn. So grab the pink yarn and finish off that single crochet with the pink. Be careful not to pull this too tight. Don't have it too loose either, but you don't want to be pulling that so tight that you're bunching the yarn. You just want it to sit nice and straight across there. Take the black yarn over with you so that it's following along, and we are going to do single crochet for 3 times. So 1, 2 and 3. Now we have our 3. Oops, I did it again. Look, we want to finish off that last one with the black because we're switching back over. You see how by switching the yarn before you actually do the stitch for that colour, you're creating so that it lays across it. Now carrying the black yarn does leave a black mark through the middle, so you could choose not to carry the black yarn and just have the tail, which is what I'm going to do from now on. For the first couple, it doesn't really matter because you're so close to the back, nobody's really noticed. But from this point onwards, I'm not going to carry the black yarn over because I don't want any more black within that pink. This just gives like a little shading effect and makes it a little darker in the top corner, which you'd get in a carrier. So now we're going to go into that first stitch, black stitch next thing, and remember we're doing an increase. We always do an increase either side of the pink, and then we want to do 3 single crochets. So the next 3 stitches have 1 single crochet in each. This is just your basic increases whenever you're doing a circle increase, or in this case it's more triangular. Each row you get 1 extra stitch in between your increases. So we had 1 to start with, then we had 2, now we have 3, and this is how it's going to follow the whole pattern down. So we've just done our 3, so we're going to do an increase, and then we do our 3 single crochets again. Your yarns will get slightly tangled, but don't worry about it, just keep an eye on it and untangle them if it gets too much. So we've finished the end of that row, but what we're going to do again is do that 1 extra single crochet to scoot us along so that the increase is before the pink again. So we've just done up to 15 stitches, so we're now going to go up to 18 stitches, which is 4 in between each increase. So we do our increase, so that's 1 stitch. In the same, we do the other one, but remember we are switching the colour to the pink for that last stitch, or the last part of that stitch. And now I'm not pulling the black along with me this time, and I'll just create a float at the back. But we're going to do 1, 2, 3 and 4. So the final pink always goes into the black stitch previously. Remember, don't finish off the stitch with the pink, switch to the black. Don't pull it too tight because you don't want to pucker your ear, so make sure it can lay flat with it going across. It's always important not to have too tight floats. Now we finished the pink, we're moving on into the black, so we're going to do an increase again. So that's 2 stitches into the same, and then we're going to do 4 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we increase again. And then we do 4 again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's the round finished. But remember, we're doing 1 single crochet at the beginning to shift our stitch over 1. And now we are going to increase up to 21. So on 18, we're going to go up to 21. And we're going to keep doing this basically until we've got 36 stitches. So we're just going to keep increasing around, following the pattern. So to go up to 21, we're going to do 5 stitches. To go up to 24, we're going to do 6 stitches. To go up to 27, we're going to do 7 stitches. For 30, we do 8 stitches. For 33, we do 9 stitches. And for 36, we do 10 stitches. So you're going to see this pink grow from 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to go to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And that's what's happening in between these increases as well, both of these ones. So the increases here, and so on that side and that side, we're also getting this exact same increase. But we're on, obviously, with the pink, we're creating the inside of the ear, and with these, we're creating the back and outside of the ear. Hope that makes sense. So you can always meet me back here when you're done, but I will continue doing this. Don't forget to swap your yarn over. If you're not worried about having a neat lineup of your yarn colour, you could not worry about swapping on the last part of that previous stitch, but I prefer the finish you get by swapping it, because it gives you a straighter line for the colour change both sides. And if you always forget how many you're supposed to be doing here, just count how many of the pink you got, and then you know how many you got there. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pink there, so I know I need to do 5 after I've done the increase. So that's my 2 in the same stitch, that's my increase, and now I have to do 5. And my increase. That's the end of my row. Do 1 stitch to push me over to do the increase in front. Remember, make sure your floats are not getting too tight. Right, so now we have done all of our rows, increasing up to 10 in every section. So we have 10 in this section, and that is mirrored on this side and this side with the increase down the middle there. And that's our triangle that we've done. So that is the basic cat ear. So now before we close that up, we're going to want to decrease just a little across there to try to pull that in a little more. So what we're going to do, put my yarn back in here, is where we did the increases on either side of the black, we're actually going to do a decrease on either side, but we're just going to go straight across there. We're not going to bother decreasing here because we still want that to curve round. So we'll go straight across there, but we're going to decrease either side of the pink. And we're also going to decrease in the middle of the pink. So the first stitch, unlike before when we've been jumping over one, we're not going to jump over. We finish our row in the correct place, and then we're actually just going to pick up the front loop only of the first stitch and the front loop only of the second stitch. That's the two black stitches there, and we're going to go through to do like a normal single crochet or UK double crochet, but of course because we're moving into pink, we're going to finish the stitch off with the pink thread. Just get that a little looser. And then we're going to go into our stitches, and we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4 left on the other side gives us 2 in the middle, and that's where we're going to decrease. So we do 4, and then on the 5th and the 6th we're going to pull them together. So front loop only on both of them, come through, and now we've done essentially an invisible decrease in the center, and then we do 4 on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, switching those colors. Try to make sure you keep your floats loose still, and then we are going to go into the next 2 blacks to decrease. So we're going into the one where we would normally have done a pink to increase, but of course we are decreasing, and then we've gone into the one where we would normally have done the increase on. So the decrease is now over those two. Does that make sense? And then we're just going to do straight around. So don't worry about trying to keep count. We're going to just finish off in the same place we did before, ready to do the next decrease on that round. So if you can hear stuff in the background, people have just arrived. I'll get to the end of this row and then I'll pause while they sort themselves out. So we're just going around the back here. Remember, no increase this time, we are just doing straight around the back. And we've got 2 black left, so that means that's the end of our row there. So I'll be back in 2 seconds for you. Well, not even that. Okay, so we're doing the same thing we did before. We're going to decrease there, and decrease in the middle. Now obviously we now have 9 stitches, so it's not going to be exactly in the middle. It doesn't matter which side you choose to take it from, just roughly in the middle. So I'm going to do my decrease there. Make sure to keep your floats from being too much and too tight. And then I'm doing 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to do my decrease here, and then do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Switch to the black, because obviously we have an odd number at the moment on the pink. Again, make sure your floats don't get too tight. And do your decrease here. And then we're just going to go all the way around straight. And it's doing this straight across here and no decrease as well. Decrease in the front is what will encourage that nice curve that we want from the cat ears. Be careful when your yarns get tangled, just untangle it, move it back down. Okay, we're back around to the beginning because we've got 2 black there to do. So we're going to do the same again. So decrease the first 2, switch to the pink, make sure your thing doesn't get too tight. One, 2, 3, decrease, and 1, 2, 3, because of course we have an even number, so we're back to having it in the middle for the pink. Over. Make sure your tail doesn't get your strand at the back, whose name I've forgotten right now. Make sure it doesn't get too tight, and do your decrease there, and work across the back again. There we go. Now, what we're going to want to do is fold this in half. And we want to try to make sure you've got 3 black stitches that side, 3 black stitches that side. That's 2 that you haven't done and the 1 that you're currently in. That's where we want the fold. And we're going to join it across. So you want to make sure you weave in your ends. So just fold it, grab your ends here, weave them in. I'm just going to do a knot because they're not going to go anywhere. And then I'm going to be really lazy and not bother weaving them in. I'm just going to snip them slightly shorter. No one's going to see them. No on the inside. Who cares? And then the pink we are done with. So leave a long enough tail to do it and cut that off. So it's now out of your way. And the pink, you'll want to weave in that end of it because of course that one is not secure. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's on the inside. Nobody's going to see. So I'm just going to go in. That's my crochet hook on the floor. But we're just going to tighten a little and then just weave it up a few stitches out of the way. Nobody's going to see it. It don't matter. Tuck that back around that way. It's secure in there. No one's going to see it once it's in because we're going to seal that now so no one will see it. Let me just rescue my crochet hook a minute. Okay, crochet hook recovered. Right, so now we're just going to join this whole thing. Now obviously there's more stitches at the back than there is at the front, and we're just going to kind of work them in. I'll show you how as we go. So making sure we've got the 3 each side, so that's in the middle. I'm just going to go into that first stitch and then into the stitch at the back, and we're going to do a single crochet into the second black stitch and the stitch at the black and do a single crochet, or UK double crochet. We're going to do that all the way across, but when we get to the middle we're going to do 2 times in. So you want to go into the pink twice but then move on to the next stitch at the back. So we're just kind of brute forcing the extra stitches in so that you don't have too many when you get to the end there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to pop them in so they're all secure and we're not shifting the 3. We want to keep that 3 there and then everything else gets squished in there. So once you've done a few extra stitches you can go back to doing them normally again because you've already accounted for those few extra stitches you got, because we've only taken off a few stitches each side and in the middle, so you can easily just squish it in. Nobody's going to notice that it's hidden. And then you've got your stitches there again. So you've just single crocheted across the middle there. So snip yarn, pull it through to finish it off. That's now secure. You want to weave in your end. This hook just keeps rolling around. It's because I'm working on a foam poster board rather than direct on the table, and it's a little wobbly. You can't see it on camera, but it is. So we're just going to work this in. Doesn't really matter how. Just find a place to put it and just work your stitch through, because when you finish off you created a knot, so you just want to work it in and out. And I'm not just going between the fabric, I am working into some of the stitches, which is hard to see, but I am. And there is your cat ear. So you just kind of give a little shaping, and there, and that can now be attached to here with your other one. And as I said, we can attach them with bobby pins. They have small bobby pins, so for these ones I use 2. You just kind of weave it in and out of your strand, and then you poke it on down through. If you can get it to behave and go in, there we go. and then you grab a second bobby pin, weave it in and out a few stitches along, and then poke that down in as well. And there is your ear. You poke that in further down. I just done it quickly, but you poke them in so they both sit that way. I just poked it in further up. You don't want to, but I'm doing it quickly. You get the gist of it. You just bobby pin the corners in, weave it in, and that. So, and then you'll have 2 ears, and then get on. So that is how you create your cat ears. And so you can do them longer, shorter, it doesn't really matter. These are the same stitch count, but that my tension was tighter on that one than this one, because when I'm filming I do a slightly looser tension because of the positioning I'm in, but that will sit down properly when you bobby pin it correctly, and then that one sits with it. Obviously you put them to the side instead of in the middle. So you'd do it more like, sorry, bobby pin it correctly a second, you can see. In you go. And then that one that side. That one on there. That one on there. There we go. Like that. I have more bobby pins, I just can't be bothered to get out to bobby pin this one. But that's your cat ears. So, as I said, you can bobby pin them to your hair as well if you wanted, instead of just to this. But by not sewing them on and using bobby pins, you make it completely interchangeable, because maybe you don't want to put cat ears on. Maybe you want to put, right, done with them. You want to take off of the orange headband and put one of the pumpkins on a black headband instead. So you can put the pumpkin on the black headband. Doesn't have to be on the orange. You can do it any way you want. It's your headband. So this is just a really good way of doing your cat ears. And obviously you'd have the same size, because you wouldn't be having a different tension while filming versus sat down doing it all. My tension is tighter naturally, but when I'm filming I try to do a looser tension so you guys can see the stitches better, because obviously smaller is harder for you to see. But that is all done. So I hope you enjoyed that. Check back soon for more tutorials on other things you can attach to your headbands. But I'll see you all soon. You take care. Bye.